Forza Horizon. What happened? Forza Horizon, a series I'm all too familiar with, and a series that's been a part of my life ever since I started playing games. I've played through and completed every single game except 5. I'm not saying I never played Horizon 5, in fact I own every single game. It's just that this is the one I've never completed. I never felt compelled to. I never felt an obligation to finish. The story that has been pushed so far to the wayside is basically non-existent, and that's why we need a return to form, why narrative and atmosphere are essential, not just to the series, but to games as a whole. But first, an introduction. Forza Horizon is a series of games based on the festival racer genre, and is essentially about racing games that take place during festivals. Forza Horizon 1 uses the festival to its advantage. It uses it to further immerse the player in the game, advancing the atmosphere and key components of the story, whereas Festival in Horizon 5 was put there as an afterthought, simply added to justify the game still existing. The game contains none of the original charm that the festival had. In Forza Horizon 1, for example, author M. Katsurita talks about how in video games, players can explore the world and learn about the story through their own pace, through characters and actions, making the game like a narrative fiction and the player the narrator. Elements of the game can make the player feel emotions. These emotions help keep players addicted to the colorful, bright atmosphere, meaning more of the narrative feeling alive, and the world feeling alive back. The objectives that you work towards provide a reason for your actions. The people you aim to be further cement your place in the new world. The fame you get from becoming more and more popular in the festival, getting more people in the crowd, more people looking your direction, watching you race, it's electrifying. It keeps you immersed. It keeps you wanting more. It keeps going. Forza Horizon 1 keeps the player immersed to objectives, people you must beat in order to advance, not be cut off from the racing high. The music keeps you immersed in the festival, keeps you understanding why you keep racing. Speaking of racing, let's talk about the narrative for a second. Author Wolf talks about how video games have evolved over time and become more and more narrative-driven and are slowly becoming parallel with the TV, and how video games allow audiences to interact with the worlds directly by controlling characters and influencing events. Specifically, the narrative in the game puts you in your place, in the sense that at the start of the game, you're nobody with a junker car, and you slowly work your way up to the festival, beating better and better drivers, compelling you to keep learning and improving, giving you a new objective to get every single time you complete an old one. And despite requiring players to have specific car classes for races, you can start controlling which races you enter and which types of cars you want to drive. It gets you immersed in the style of play while also giving you objectives to work towards and providing difficulty and the sense of accomplishment that comes with completing them. These are all elements that are sorely lacking in Forza Horizon 5. The game was made to appeal to as many people as possible. Instead of opting for story, they opted for short brand tie-ins and small events. Instead of opting for life, for crowd, for festival, they offer the easier experience of gameplay. Now in doing a race, there's no spectators or crowd. The music feels haphazard, almost thrown in, instead of a curated section in the previous game. For example, each Forza Horizon game contains the Gladiator, an hour-long race around the entire map. Forza Horizon 5 is the first game I didn't complete this in. In Horizon 1, you feel compelled. You feel as the last race in the series, it needs to be beaten, to beat the previous champion, to win it all, or even just to see the gorgeous atmosphere of Colorado. In Forza Horizon 5, there is no such experience. The lack of progression in the game, this event just unlocks randomly whenever you complete a certain amount of races in the game. It suddenly shows up on your map. Nothing compels the player to complete this race, to complete the game. There's no narrative reason or logical reason to spend the hour on this race. Author Ash focuses on the importance of captivating atmosphere. The game environments are designed to keep players engaged for long periods of time. This is never felt in Forza Horizon 5. The majority of the terrain in the map is exactly the same, causing players to be disinterested in the actual map due to similar terrain. There is little to explore, leaving players in the middle of an empty atmosphere. Due to the game being devoid of most life, the atmosphere feels unrealistic as well, and with Wolf talking about the importance of story and pacing and creating immersion, in Forza Horizon 5, supercars and large sums of money are a dime a dozen, making the game progression basically non-existent and pacing lackluster. Overall, Forza Horizon 5 pales in comparison to Horizon 1's narrative and atmosphere. The game has no sense of progression at all. The repetitive entertainments and terrain break the immersion. The lack of people in the major cities and festivals where you expect to see them makes the game unrealistic and unatmospheric. The music choice in the game feels too safe overall, and it sacrificed its roots of the narrative and atmosphere, all contributing to the overall game feeling less engaging and immersive, just leaving the player wanting more, leading to less entertaining and happy audience, less likely to buy or keep playing the series. A return to form on narrative and storytelling would bring the game back to its roots, reuniting the players of the past and present. Narrative and atmosphere are so important because how they can pull and keep players in. Games like this, without any, really need to be able to do that.